So this week you're going to be doing your first practice argument essay. And before you get started with that, I really want to go over the rubric with you so you'll be able to understand how scorers will grade your response and what they're going to be looking for. Now, the first thing that I will point out is that on the traditional exam, an argument essay is worth 6 points. Now, last year, so on the 2020 exam, the argument essay was worth 7 points, and that's because the exam was all FRQs. So as of right now, you all are expected to take the traditional exam where the argument essay is worth those 6 points. So let's look at how those points are broken down and what scorers are going to be looking for in your responses. And this rubric is super helpful. It's posted on Google Classroom. I would definitely recommend pulling it up while you're writing your response. So the first part, worth 1 point, is the claim or the thesis. And in order to get that 1 point, you have to respond to the prompt with a defensible claim or thesis that establishes a line of reasoning. So you're not just restating the prompt here, you're developing an argument. Okay, so you're not rephrasing, you are establishing a line of reasoning with your claim or with your thesis, and that's how you get 1 point. The next part is your evidence, and this is worth up to 3 points. Now, if you'll remember when we talked about FRQs for the first time a couple weeks ago, I told you that in the argument essay, you're going to have 2 pieces of evidence. Now, one piece of evidence is going to have to come from a foundational document listed in the prompt. So there are foundational documents required for the AP exam that you have to know. This could be the Constitution. This could be the Declaration of Independence. It could be one of those Federalist Papers. It's going to come from those foundational documents that are required for the exam. The other piece of evidence can be either another foundational document or some sort of class concept, maybe a Supreme Court case, something that you've talked about in class. So in order to get the 3 points for your evidence, not only do you have to have those 2 pieces of specific and relevant evidence that supports whatever your thesis is, whatever your argument is, you also have to make sure that one piece of evidence is coming from one of the foundational documents listed in the prompt. Okay, so that's how you get the 3 points there. The next part is reasoning, and this is worth 1 point. And you get this point if you explain how or why the evidence supports your claim or thesis. So, for example, you can't just write out what the Declaration of Independence says. The scorers know what the Declaration of Independence says. How does the Declaration of Independence support your claim or thesis? So you are having to explain the relationship between your piece of evidence and your claim or your thesis. Okay, so you're relating your evidence back to your argument. That's how you get that point for reasoning. And then the last part where you can get 1 point is responding to an alternate perspective. And here you get a point if you respond to if you respond to an opposing or alternate perspective using refutation, concession, or rebuttal. Okay, so you have to describe an alternate perspective and you have to refute it, concede, or rebut that perspective. Okay, so make sure that you go over this rubric and that you're super familiar with it. So as you're writing these argument essays, you know what the scorers are looking for and you know what you have to do to get full credit for your argument essay response.